Hi everybody, it's Elsabe. Can you believe it's Friday again? Where's the time going? It's like day 49 or day 50, I think. And some days it feels like we're losing track of the days. What have you been up to? What have you been saying? Today I'm wearing this top that I shared with you last week, and I've had some customers that's told me they're doing it, they're making it. I've had some photos that were sent to me, and I'm actually I'm so chuffed with everybody trying this design. So well done if you're busy with this pattern. Today's video, what I'm going to do for you is just a short little video on more tips. After my last tip video that I did with my overlocker, I had so many questions come in, so I won't be able to answer everything in one go. I decided to do it in bite-sized chunks for you guys. So I'm concentrating today on stabilizing knits. That was the one question that I got the most from all of you, is how do I stabilize my knits when I sew with it. So I'm going to show you my techniques. Just remember, and I always tell it to my students, there is so many techniques out there. You've got to find what works for you. The only golden rule that I keep by is I cut on the grain line and I press as I go, and that is two rules that I'll never break. But you know what, I'm always up for trying a new technique. So I'm going to show you my technique. Try it. If it works for you, I'll be very happy for you. Otherwise, just keep on googling. But over the years of sewing, this is what I found worked for me, so I'm going to share that with you. So if I sew with knits, my first thing that I do, I make sure I determine how much how much stretch is in my knit fabric, and also the recovery. For me, the recovery of the knit is very important, because that makes me decide how am I going to stabilize this fabric. If it's got a limited stretch or the recovery is good, let me just show you, because you might be saying, what am I talking about? What recovery am I talking about? All right, so if I take my piece of fabric, this is a cardigan that I made. It's got, I think it's got about 75% stretch. If I hold it up, look how stretchy is this. Now this is a terrible fabric to work with because it grows on you. You think you're making the right size, and during the day, instead of the neckline being there, the neckline will be down there. Shoulder seams that should be sitting nice on your shoulder with the sleeves on might be dragging down as well. So that sort of fabric, I will always want to sew in a tape where I need to stabilize it. Some fabrics I'll only do it on the shoulder, but this specific cardigan is it's called Infinity Sweater. It's a digital pattern that I got, and I knew this fabric was going to stretch because I've worked with it before, and I knew I would have a problem. So what I've done with it, sorry if I'm going back and forth, but let's just get everything to show you. If you look at this, now this is my one technique. I would sew in tape with my overlock. I'm trying to get it close. There we go, so you can see what it looks like. It's quite a thin tape that I work with. If I work with my knits, I don't like using the cotton tape. It just feels too thick for me. And the cotton tape as well, I find that when I work with knits and I press, for instance, on the shoulders, you can see there's something sewn in there, and I don't want that. So this one, we sell it in a white and in a black. We've always got it in stock. I've always got it in my stash. I cannot live without it. So that is the tape that I use. And just to show you, because I don't want these ones to grow, the back is almost just hip length at the back, and the front is quite long. It goes to below the knees. It's got quite a drape in the front. So what I did, just to show you, can you see how smooth my hem is of that one? And if I turn it this way, can you see? You can't even see I've sewn the tape in, but there is, on this fabric here, there is just no, it's got a bit of a give, but there's no stretch. So I opted to do that with this fabric because I knew it was going to grow. It's going to, those pieces in the front that's so long would be stretching out, and also the shoulder seams would stretch out. So I'm going to use this tape. I'm going to show you how I work with it. If I work with my knit fabrics, I prefer to work on my overlocker because of my differential feed. Differential feed for knit fabrics, instead of getting, I've got all the samples here. It was quite good. I sewed all the samples for you. Can you see that wave? Sometimes we really get quite an extreme one. I'm actually going to pull this a bit more. But we get, let's turn it that way. There's quite a wave if I have to keep this straight. So I don't want that. And sewing on a sewing machine, I might still get that wave, because not all of you have got a machine that's got foot pressure or anything that I can play with as well. So I opt to work with my overlocker. As soon as I do my, let's say, active wear, my casual wear, I do a lot with my overlocker. So the differential I would always work with. So if I've worked with the differential and now all of a sudden I'm going to work with my tape, you have to remember, take your differential back to 1 or normal. You might be on a differential 1.5 or 2, and what's going to happen, that bottom part of your fabric that's pressing on the feed dogs, that will be almost puckering the fabric for me because it's gathering it in almost. Where the top, this tape stabilizes the fabric. So so even that super stretchy fabric that I had when I worked with the tape, because it was pressing that fabric down, stabilizing it, I worked with a 1 differential on my Bernina, and it came out perfect. It didn't stretch my fabric at all. So just be aware when you work with it that you are going to go back to your normal or your 1 differential. I'm working on the Bernina 1150. Now my presser foot has got a opening where I can put the tape in, and it keeps the tape in place for me. If you're working with another overlocker, even our Bernina 700 or 800, it didn't have this specific foot. You've got to guide it next to the blade. You don't want to cut your tape. So be aware that you really, as you're sewing, you're really watching in here where the blade is, where you can see the gap between the foot and the blade. You want to make sure you're guiding it. If you do have the Bernina 700 and 800, you can buy this foot that I've got for your overlocker. It's great for working with knits because you're always going to be using it. So I'm just going to, I know I can't zoom in for you guys. We'll only get our all the other stuff that we really want for recording in, I think, about level 3. So I'm just going to sew it just to show you. I just wanted to show you the finished result. So I'm just going to put my tape in. Now when I put the tape in, I always move it so that it is under my presser foot. So I'm just going to release the stitches quickly. I put it so it's all the way, and it comes out slightly to the back, and I'm just going this way now so that I can keep it in place. And I just do about 2 turns just to make sure it's keeping that tape in place for me. There we go. All right, and sorry I didn't put it all the way in there. There we go. So it's perfectly put in there now for me. I'm going to work, my fabric is at the bottom, the tape you'll see is going over the fabric. And this hand, I don't pull it, because as soon as I pull, this tape has got a bit of a give. So as soon as I pull it, I'm going to find that I might also get puckers and all that. So I'm just going to guide it. And I usually, my hand will rest there, but I'm going to try and rest it. Or let's work it with the right hand. So I'm just going to show you. Okay, it's just moving a little bit. Trying to see that you can see what I'm doing. Alright, I've cut it off short a little bit, but that's fine. Let's just cut this off there. I'm just going to cut it there so you can see my results. So if you look at this now, it's worked into the stitching. It's not sticking out on the side of the stitching. It's just the perfect width, this tape, to when I'm working with my 2 needles, my left and my right needle. And now when I open up, I can go press it down, and I don't even go to my sewing machine when I work with the knit. You'll see it's a perfect, let's see if you can see. There's no stitching showing. I've really got to go pull this, and you can see there's still not showing my stitches. And if you look at this, I mean, there's just a little bit of movement. There's not really any stretch. If you look at the stretch I've got there, look at my shoulder seam. So it stabilized the fabric for me. So I've always got this tape in my stash, and I would recommend that you get yourself some of this tape. It's just perfect for knits. My other way that I stabilize, my second way, is if I'm working with a knit. You know, we sometimes get knits, like the chenille knit doesn't have a lot of stretch, but we get a knit like this. Okay. Can you see it looks knitted, like it's done on a knitting machine? And if I do this, look how that neckline just goes, and it curls and all that. So sometimes if I work on a knit like this, if I had the whole garment here and I had to pick it up, the weight would have dragged down this neckline, and that neckline would have grown already, and it won't be the same length as what my pattern is. So when I work with fabrics like that, I like to use a stabilizing tape. Now I've got this one at home that I'm showing you at the moment. We also get it in white. At the moment I'm out of stock. You can cut your dimension, your normal fabric stabilizer. Let's see if you can see it. There we go. I've got dimension that I cut in strips for myself as well. So if you've got a fabric stabilizer, I'm going to stop there. I want to tell you one thing. Sorry for interrupting myself here, but work with fabric stabilizers. I've got a lot of beginners that go and they buy the paper stabilizer. You know what? Paper stabilizer for me is great if you're doing crafts, if you're doing handbags or little pouches, whatever. You know what? If you're going to spend the time in sewing a garment for yourself, buy yourself a decent stabilizer, because it gets washed with your fabrics over and over again. Those paper ones, eventually, if you've got it in a color, that paper will almost make little balls inside. It starts almost disintegrating. So I'm an absolute believer to work with fabric stabilizer. I do not work with paper stabilizer. So dimension is, again, a thinner stabilizer. I don't work with those very hard ones. I like a softer stabilizer. All right, let's get back on track. Sorry about that, but that's one of the things that I had to mention. I cannot work with paper stabilizer when I'm making my clothing. I want a proper stabilizer. All right, so this one now, what I work is I'm going to stabilize on this one. I want to stabilize the neck that's curling, and can you see, just holding it like that, look how it's stretched out already, and this is a small sample, and I want to stabilize, because look at this shoulder as well. It immediately starts curling with this, and I want to go in close. Can you see it looks like a knit? Look at that. So what I do, all right, is I take my pattern or my fabric, I've cut it out, I go and I put it on. I don't sew at all. I first stabilize. I go and I put it on my ironing board. I take my pattern. Now I'm just using my template here. It's easier to work. And I will measure the front neckline and I will measure my back neckline. And remember to double it if you're working on the fold. So you've got to double it. So, and don't work right on the edge. Let's just assume you've got a 1 centimeter seam allowance on that. I will go slightly in, because that's where I need to stitch. I need to stitch on it. And I'll do that measurement, on the shoulder, and I'll do it over there. And I can tell you now, and I can bet you that if you do that and you go measure your neckline of this fabric, it would have grown. Let's just work on, I've worked on a 20 centimeter on the front neck. And that's the size or the length I want to cut this, is 20 centimeters, because my neckline must be the length of what my pattern is. I can't bargain on my fabric still being 20 centimeters. My neckline might be 22, sometimes 24. That's how much it will stretch when I've just lifted that fabric up. So go measure it, do it accurate, and make sure you take your fabric that's stretched back to what your neckline length must be. And what I would do, I would take my strip. I've just cut a small strip here. For the curves, can you see this? I actually just go and nick it a bit so that it can, I'm just cutting a bit so that I can shape it around the neck. And what I would do, and I'm just going to, for a moment, I'm just going to go down to my table to show you something. So let's say this is my neckline. I'm going to work on this bigger one at first. So if this is my neckline that's stretched out, if I put my tape in and this tape comes up short, okay, I would go with my fingers and I manipulate my fabric. It's almost as if I'm just scooting it back in, and I make sure, is the tape fitting now? Oh, no, it's not fitting, and I'll scoot it in. I tell you now, you won't you won't pucker it if you do that. I'm just where that knit is stretched, where, sorry, this keeps falling forward. Now, come now, don't be funny. All right. So where, what was I going to tell you? So where that neckline is stretched out, I'm just basically, because I just want to come closer again. Can you see that edge? Look at that, where you would usually have a knit and pull. Look how it's opening up already. So I'm with my fingers, I'm just on my ironing board, I'm like pushing it back, I'm manipulating my fabric till it's the same length of my stabilizer that I've cut out. Then I will go to my my iron, and I will press it in, and you can see I've done the shoulder there as well. Then I know when I'm picking or sewing on my top, it's not going to stretch out. I can't, like with a woven, just go and do a stay stitch. It's not going to work. So now I've stabilized it, and I know that this pattern piece fits in to what my original pattern was. Sorry, it's going blurry as soon as I put these things there. Let's just put it down. So I want to make sure it's the same length. And if you don't do that, you are going to pick up problems. So on those sort of fabrics, fabric stabilizer, cut your strips if you don't have pre-cut strips like that, and measure your neckline. Make sure it's the right. Even the shoulder length, make sure if the shoulder length is 10 centimeters or 12 centimeters, you're going to cut your strip 12 centimeters and you scoot that fabric in till it fits into there. And then you're always going to get a perfect fitting knit garment that you're working with. So those are my 2 ways that I work with my knit fabrics. I really hope that that it's going to work for you. Just go try it. I think that's the best way. I've tried other ways. I'm trying to think of the other ways I've tried. I kept on coming back to this, so this is my go-to method at the moment. So go try it. Stabilize your knits with stabilizer. As I said, it doesn't always have to be iron on. Sometimes I use that tape that I've shown you before that I overlock in. So you determine what does your fabric want. Remember, all fabrics out there, we've got such different fabrics in the shops at the moment. I always say they've got their own personality. So go look what that fabric's wanting from you, so that you can set your machine in. At the end of the day, you can have the best machine, but if you're not working with the right techniques, you are going to pick up problems along the way. So go look at that and let me know what you think about it. I wanted to say goodbye, but first I'm going to just tell you guys one other thing. I'm wearing my top today. Again, we got a very good response on this top. I've got some customers that's busy making it, so I'm going to hopefully share photos with you at some stage to show you what the ladies are doing. I've also made one of these where instead of this collar, my collar is a bit short because I ran out of fabric. I only had 1.5 meters of fabric, so I had to make do with what I had. I would have liked a fuller collar, but I have made this previously as well, and I've done it with a hoodie. I took, it's again the same neckline, but instead of putting this on, I think I went a bit higher, and I took other pattern that I've got, a commercial pattern, and I took the hoodie pattern and I cut it out, and I actually put a hoodie on, and also it came out beautiful with the hoodie. So play with your pattern. Don't be stuck in just doing the same thing over and over again. If you've designed something or you've got a pattern you're using, just change something up a little bit and it feels like a brand new pattern that you've got. So I think that is all I wanted to share with you guys today. I will be designing again this weekend. I'm doing the color blocking. Oh yes, I went to Dubai yesterday. Let me tell you that. I went to Dubai and spoiled myself. It was like, I don't know, I can't explain it to you, but just walking around between the fabrics and all that, because Dubai Center is open between 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock at the moment. I loved it. I actually did some shopping and I bought beautiful fabrics. I bought fabric that's got like a stretchy velour for pajamas, for winter pajamas. I've got to get more winter pajamas, so I've bought a grey and a soft, and I bought more knits that I want to work with. They've got beautiful thick knits as well. So yesterday was a great day for me. I could go out and I went a bit of shopping and spoiled myself. So I hope you guys, wherever you are, you've got fabric shops that started opening up so that you can go. It's good for the soul. That's all I can say. I felt so good afterwards. So I'm in a good mood today. You can see that. It's all smiles and that, because I'm going to be sewing this weekend with my new fabrics. I know it's wrong because I've got all that stash, but you know what? After about 50 days of not getting into a fabric store and feeling fabrics, and it was just such a boost. So, and anyway, enjoy your weekend, guys. I hope you do a lot of sewing. I hope that you've got a busy weekend ahead. And remember, share what you're making. Please be social. Share with us. Share photos. I love to see what you are doing. My customers that's on Facebook as well, they love seeing what everybody else is doing. So keep sharing with us. I'll speak to you guys again later. Bye-bye.